Hi everyone, and welcome to the City and Guilds webinar, where we will provide an overview for curriculum managers and teams involved in planning for change in technical education. It will cover the main changes, their impact, and how City and Guilds can support you through this process. My name is Simon York, and my colleague Alison Whittle joins me today. We both work as technical advisors and support centres in preparing for and adapting to change in the further education sector. So let's take a look at the agenda. It is effectively a three-part presentation. The first part takes a look at the current landscape, the policy decisions behind this change, and how we can make choices that support transition into the new landscape. The second part looks at why City and Guilds Technicals are such a good fit for the changing landscape, with the final part providing an overview on the introduction of T-levels. Delegates will be able to type questions as we move through the slides, and we will endeavour to answer as many of these as we can.
So let's look briefly at the positives and the negatives in the current post-16 landscape in England. You'll see from the graphic we do have a range of qualifications that are available already, which are A-levels, MVQs, BRQs, apprenticeships, applied generals and technicals. Many of the positives of offering these ranges of qualifications are that it is business as usual. We have lots of different levels, there are lots of different shapes and sizes from entry level 3 up to level 7. There are awards, certificates and diplomas. All have different assessment methodologies. Many have unitised delivery. And on a number of them, you are able to claim partial achievement should a student not achieve the full qualification. There are still unlimited resets on some qualifications. And of course, the staffing capability and confidence, as the staff are well used to delivering qualifications that have been around for some time. All of these are fundable, as they all sit on section 96. However, let's look at some of the negatives. It is a very confusing landscape. There are too many qualifications and many of them leading to some poor job outcomes. This has led to parents, employers and learners being very confused over which direction to take. There are still unclear and very limited progressions routes in some qualifications, for example, VRQ to MVQ. There are far too many policy changes. And again, level 3 is under the Department for Education review yet again. Many level 3 qualifications are not seen as having parity of esteem to academic qualifications. So the outcome, it's an unclear and confusing landscape, and more change is coming. So the challenges for post-16 education and the changing landscape in England. So if we take a look at some of the key milestones for full-time education and what the changes have meant. We are in a period of constant change, with the main drivers starting in 2011 with the Wolf Review of Vocational Education, which saw 96% of GCSE equivalent qualifications removed from school league tables. Following on from the Wolf Report, in 2013, raising of the participation age from 16 to 18 was introduced, further impacting on further education, as many schools opted to keep pupils who may have otherwise gone on to further education courses at the age of 16. Also in 2013, only a student's first entry to a GCSE examination counted in their school's performance tables, thus removing the incentive for offering multiple resits to achieve higher grades. In 2015, first teaching of the new GCSEs with the new grading scales of 9 to 1 were introduced. Still in 2015, changes to A-levels and AS levels were phased in, which saw decoupling of the AS qualification from an A-level. So this whole new system means that there is now less coursework and fewer practical assessments, and the old modular structure has now been replaced by a linear one, with exams taken at the end of the course, reducing the number of opportunities for retakes. The number of subjects available at A-levels has been reduced in order to streamline the qualifications and ensure academic rigour. So therefore, it's no coincidence that technical qualifications were introduced alongside these reforms, supporting the same model of assessments. And if we look at the timelines on this slide, the same pattern for changes to technical and qualification vocational education emerges. In 2013, the Trailblazer Apprenticeship was launched in England following the Richards Review of Apprenticeships. Plans to stop funding old apprenticeship frameworks and ensure providers were only delivering new Trailblazer standards were first announced in October 2013. In 2015, technical qualifications were introduced. These included an external assessment component and syllabus-led teaching. In 2016, these new performance measures and first teaching of Key Stage 5 tech levels at Level 3 were reported in the performance tables. This led to the first teaching of Key Stage 5 technical certificates at Level 2 in September 2017. In 2016, an expert panel chaired by Lord Sainsbury published their review of technical education. This is now referred to as the Post-16 Skills Plan. A further publication called the Technical Education Reform, The Case for Change, was published in July 2016. In September 2020, we will see the first T-level delivery, with full implementation of T-levels rolled out from September 2022. And the changes keep coming. So I'd like to share some facts and information relating to further education with you. In further education, there have been 28 major pieces of legislation related to vocational and technical education since the 1980s. There have been 11 different government departments and 65 secretaries of state responsible for skills and employment, compared to just 19 for schools and higher education. In the last 20 years, we have seen policy changes come and go in England. For instance, the 14 to 19 diplomas, the apprenticeship frameworks, now to employer Trailblazer-led standards. We've seen the introduction of the foundation learning tier, to qualifications credit framework, to regulation qualification framework, so FLT to QCF to RQF. So it's not surprising that the instability in the sector has created a complex and changeable landscape for its users and providers. We are seeing the introduction of the word technical qualifications replacing the traditional vocational descriptors. We are seeing new accountability measures for performance tables, with further new measures being added, giving parity of esteem for destinations and progressions from A-levels, apprenticeships and T-levels included in the same measure. So, how can City and Guilds support you in managing these changes? Well, there is a clear indication of the direction the government is taking with the investments in technical education and the qualification models that we are seeing fast moving forwards. We only have to look at how GCSEs and A-levels have been reformed, and now the introduction of exam-based and synoptic, in other words, syllabus-based teaching and learning, assessments for technical qualifications. Now, only technical qualifications that meet the full headline measures are included in performance tables and given parity of esteem to academic qualifications. City and Guilds are committed to supporting our customers and understand we have a responsibility to guide our customers through these changes, ensuring that you're kept up to date with policy changes and timelines so we can make things easier for you. Change is certain, but how we manage it and prepare for these inevitable changes is a difference between future-proofing your curriculum and introducing change gradually, maybe using opportunities to develop your staff, and not waiting until there is no choice.
So, there are some tough decisions ahead. The safe option may appear to be to stay as you are. A longer-term approach would be to embrace change. This would help the learner access training that makes them stand out when they enter the workplace. So if we consider how we bridge the gap between now and the future, the key is that standing still is not an option. As we know in education, the only constant is change. Working with technicals prepares teams for that change. So now we are going to take a look at how all this policy change has been used to inform product development at City and Guilds. We have created a number of qualifications supporting multiple sectors that align perfectly with the direction of travel for the landscape. Let's have a look at these more closely.
So, why technicals? Well, we know that technical qualifications are approved by the Department for Education. They are recognised by higher education and are supported by employers, as they provide a sound basis for preparing learners for the world of work. The 60-40 split allows learners to gain the majority of their marks by demonstrating their practical skills in a range of industry-relevant synoptic tasks. All have been approved to count in the 2020 performance tables, 2021 performance tables, and 2022 performance tables, providing the much needed stability when planning your curriculum. At level 3, there is the option to continue to higher education, as all level 3 qualifications carry UCAS points and are recognised as being suitable for entry to higher education for a related degree programme. So, what are the benefits of delivering technical qualifications? Well, we focused on the 3 main areas. And of course, these are the focus on teaching and learning. For teachers, there is far less burden on continuous assessment, which then means there is a huge reduced marking load. There is more time to plan your delivery and teaching and learning. And of course, the syllabus approach means that you teach the whole of the qualification and then it's end tested. Of course, the assessment now, this removes all of the burden to carry out unit assessments. And all the assessments are provided by City and Guilds, along with guidance on how to prepare your learners for exams and synoptic tasks, with sample papers and sample assignments. All the tasks are industry related, making them more meaningful for learners. And of course, the higher education opportunities for level 3, as all level 3 qualifications have UCAS points attached and they align with A level within the grading there. We also have granularity of grading, allowing much more flexibility for learners to achieve and progress to higher education. There are opportunities for the higher level apprenticeships, and of course the employer involvement in the delivery of assessment provides much more work-ready learners.
A technical qualification has some key components. The first of these is the synoptic assignment. This is designed by City and Guilds and delivered and marked by the provider. We then moderate these marks to ensure correct awarding of marks. The second component is the theory exam. This is externally set and externally marked. It has a focus on the core or fundamental content of the qualification. The next component is the employer involvement requirement. Most centres offer a work experience programme that would meet this requirement, but there are other options. We provide full guidance on our website of what constitutes meaningful employer engagement. The final component consists of externally set and moderated assignments covering any optional unit choices. Overall, the assessment strategy provides a highly rigorous yet efficient delivery model that ensures learners have a significant advantage when moving into progression routes. So, as previously mentioned, our offer supports multiple sectors. This includes diverse sectors such as construction, digital, building services engineering, land, hair and beauty, hospitality and catering, engineering, automotive, business, and health and care. All these qualifications will count towards the accountability measures as defined by the Department for Education. We would like to share some recent feedback from our customers and learners. You can see how valued both support and progression are. So now we are going to take a look at the implementation of T-levels. You should be able to see how well technical qualification delivery transitions into the delivery of T-levels.
So looking at an overview of the new technical option, I think it's important to sort of say at this point that T-levels are here to stay. The government have invested £500 million per year on T-levels. There's a further £38 million on T-level capital funding launch to help providers deliver T-levels. A further £20 million to help prepare the sector for the introduction of T-levels, and this also includes a £5 million investment on the Taking Teaching Further programme. This visual really shows the options that learners have at the age of 16. They will study GCSEs and technical awards. At the age of 16, they will then make a decision whether they want to follow the academic route, which includes applied generals and A-levels, with the progression pathway to higher education, or the technical option, which will include the T-level programme, or an apprenticeship, with the progression pathway to higher education at level 4 and 5, or degree and higher apprenticeships. The bridging provision is available for learners who really might want to change their mind or look at different options after 1 year. The details of this still have to be decided by the government. So this slide really looks at how T-levels will work with other level 3 study programmes. As you can see, the government are looking at the 3 options now, which is T-levels, apprenticeships, which are on-the-job training, and A-levels, which are the academic route. I think the key principles really with T-levels are to ensure that the skills system responds to the changing labour market. Therefore, employers, providers and other partners will need to be involved in the design and delivery. So the next steps really, the government are undertaking a review of which qualifications they will continue to fund at level 3 and below, alongside T-levels and A-levels. This is currently under review, although we have no details of the consultation as yet, although it's not expected funding will be switched off for other level 3 qualifications until T-levels are established. A further review will be undertaken of any non-GCSE qualifications from ages 14 to 16. Again, date of this review will be confirmed. So this slide really is just a brief overview of the purpose and the progression of a T-level, which encapsulates the knowledge, behaviour and skills required for learners to progress onto skilled employment, a higher or degree level apprenticeship or higher level technical training, which does include higher education.
Looking at how technicals and T-levels compare, we can see huge similarities between the two. Both reinforce the different progression routes, and both will have UCAS points, meaning progression into higher education is an option. Employer endorsement and involvement is also a key part of both technicals and T-levels, as are transferable skills that are much sought after by employers. We feel we can say that the transition from technical to T-level will be much less difficult for centres than the transition from older qualifications into T-levels. In addition, learners studying for a level 2 technical qualification will be much better prepared when they move on to a T-level programme. When thinking about how we support you as a customer further in your journey, we feel that we have a really good offer. We have dedicated sales and advisor teams that can handle your queries and offer effective solutions. You can meet these teams at network meetings advertised on our website and in face-to-face meetings in your centre. In addition, we have detailed written documentation which describes clearly how you can approach different subjects such as marking and moderation, qualification delivery, or employer involvement.
So do stay in touch. Below lists all the ways you can get in touch with us should you require any further information. If you're an existing centre, please talk to your business manager. We've got links there for our dedicated technicals and T-level web pages. You can sign up to stay up to date with developments via email updates on the website. If you have any questions at all on technicals or delivery, please contact the moderation support team. The email address is there. Or for any inquiries regarding delivering technical qualifications, we provide the link on the website where you can complete an inquiry form. So Simon and I are available to answer as many of your questions in the time we have remaining. Please do email us if you require any further information. Our contact details are on the screen. And a link to this presentation will be sent out to all attendees.
So we've now come to the end of our presented portion of the webinar. We're now going to review some of the questions sent in by the delegates and talk through the responses to these. So I'll hand over to Alison now, who's going to discuss the first question.
Hi, sorry about that, the voice went there. So we've got a couple of questions coming through. Some of them are obviously quite requiring some detailed answers. Question here from Sarah. You mentioned qualifications are going through another review at the moment. The question is, what does this mean and when will we know the outcomes of this? So, as we are today, the Department for Education are proceeding with the review of qualifications at level 3 and level 2 and below. They will be also reviewing the non-GCSE qualifications, as we said before on the slide. And this is in response to Damien Hines' speech on technical education, where he states, you know, right now we have a training market that is driven by choices colleges and other training providers make. And apparently for people putting on the training, there's a good reason to go for cheap, popular courses that he states he thinks are easier to put on and easier to pass. He also stated in his speech, as we roll T-levels out, we are also reviewing the qualifications currently on offer, and we don't simply want to add 25 new qualifications to the 10,000 plus that already exist. He also stated that there are going to be some tough decisions ahead as they think very carefully about what they take away from the system as well as what they add to the system. He did say that we'll consult before deciding on the nature of qualifications needed, but he said we obviously all agree it's better to see young people with a smaller choice of high quality choices rather than a plethora of often mediocre ones. So the answer, I would expect we'll have some indication of when that happens later on this year. So I hope that does answer your question, Sarah. We've got another question, just enlarging this, from Emma. On one of the presentation slides, it said there are 3 options from 2020. Can you clarify what these are? Sorry, Emma, yes, of course. So the Department for Education sort of are stating that there will be 3 options available. And these options are going to be A-levels, T-levels and apprenticeships. The future of applied generals do remain uncertain as they are currently under a separate review. We've got a question from Mark, which is a really difficult question to answer this, Mark, but if funding still continues for all qualifications, why would colleges want to change to other qualifications until they have to? This has been asked on a number of sort of questions that are being raised now, and I think in response to that, we're all in a really difficult situation. You know that we know the model the government is introducing for all qualifications is following the same format of a syllabus-led curriculum. You know, the synopticity with an end-tested assessment component. And again, this is in response to driving up the standards of technical education to have parity of esteem to other qualifications. I think it's important, though, Mark, that to have this information helps us to prepare for change gradually. We know that all technical qualifications have now been accepted on the Department for Education, I think I mentioned before, until 2022, by which time the majority of T-levels will have been rolled out. Already they're sort of separating the full headline measures against full technical levels, against legacy qualifications on the accountability tables. And I think really our message today is that, we're trying to give centres time to plan and prepare. The ideal thing would be look at learners preparing at lower levels so they can easily move into a level 3 as T-levels, do come around from 2020. The Department for Education have also indicated to us that they do intend to review qualifications straight away where there is an equivalent technical qualification as well as a legacy qualification in the subject area. We've got another question coming up. I'm sorry if I get this pronunciation wrong. I think it's from Khalil. Hello, Khalil. Are technicals the same qualifications as T-levels, but T-levels take 2 years, not 1? Yeah, I can understand where the sort of communications may seem a little bit vague within that. No, that they are not the same qualifications, as every awarding organisation who wins the contract for T-levels will be given the design annexed from the Department for Education. What we do know, and it's been mooted by a number of people within the organisation, including the Department for Education, that the City and Guilds technical qualifications, are a good fit. It's very much based on the same model that we know the T-level design will be. In other words, the way they are assessed and marked. And of course, there is the industry relevant synoptic tasks for the occupational specialism and the end theory written test, which covers the essential knowledge and understanding, which is the same basis the T-levels are designed on. We've got a huge amount of questions coming through here. In the technical option for apprenticeships, is there likely to be a degree apprenticeship in hairdressing from Jean? Right, we do know that there will be, we've got obviously level 2 professional hairdressing, and there is a level 3. We don't know what levels are going to be, but on the occupational maps, there is definitely a level 4 on the occupational maps. I will respond to your question and get our technical advisor team to respond directly to you, Jean, for that. Hello, Matthew. Where do I find the list of your qualifications that have UCAS points? Right, they are all our level 3 qualifications have UCAS points, and they are all on our website, along with the UCAS tariff and a list of all the universities that I'm currently working with that accept our qualifications, and many of them have given slightly lower grades for entry because they like the externality of the exam. So we've been very, very fortunate in our negotiations with universities. So Matthew, it's on the website, and it will be technicals and T-levels under the first tab. Then it will be study technical qualifications, and that then will take you to our progression page and all our university information. Just having a look now. Do you think in the long run T-level will become a more popular option than the existing apprenticeship programs? Has there been any analysis of projected take-up of T-level as against the apprenticeships? From Nigel. Well, we have done some internal analysis, and of course we work very closely with MC on data analysis and business, the labour market intelligence. So we do think the most popular option at level 3 will continue to be A-levels. There is a indication that it will be the most popular option, slightly over 50%. And I think because the choices we know are going to be so limited, I think T-levels and apprenticeships will have the other half of the market. So if we look at maybe 45% equal parts for T-levels and apprenticeships. T-levels were only designed initially to sort of 20% as the actual for learners at level 3. But since the government have really been clear that there are option routes for employment, option routes onto apprenticeships, and also to higher level technical education, it seems to have opened the market up a little bit further. I'm just going to have a look. Oh, right, it's a really good question here. How will the resits work for the qualification? Will there be a time frame, and do these, or are these on demand or set times, Sharon? We don't know whether you mean for technicals there or for T levels. So I'm going to try and answer that question in two parts. The resits will work for the qualification for technicals, where there is one resit for each of the assessment components. There is a theory resit for the end test within the same academic year, and there is an option to resit the synoptic, but not in the same academic year, in another academic year, obviously a different exam. There will be a resit for T levels. They have looked at when that's going to be, and we think it'll be set times, but more flexibility to give learners or centres more chance to plan for that. And we don't think it will be exactly in line with the same GCSE and A levels. That will be announced further on this year, Sharon, how will resits work, but we do know there will be resits for T levels as well. Are there any more questions at all? I think we've had quite a lot. So what I do intend to do before I hand over again to my colleague to close the presentation is we will take all of the questions that we've had today and put them in an FAQ document, and we will send them out to you with all of the links and the link to this webinar to all attendees who have listened or have registered for today. So thank you very much for your time. I do hope we've got to the majority of your questions, and I'm just going to hand you back to Simon, my colleague, to close the presentation.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. We hope you found it useful. Obviously, this is just the start of the conversation, and we'd like to discuss these things further. Our emails were on the last slide, but we've also got your emails, so we'll send out copies of presentations, and let's keep talking to each other. One of our big things at Sitting Girls is about supporting our centres through change, working together to make sure that we all adapt to this significant change. So we'd just like to say from me and Alison again, thanks again. Send us any more questions. We'll be sure to get in touch and discuss it further, but we hope you all found it useful, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Thank you and goodbye.